All right, so here's my video. Uh, I've done a couple of them so far on my living soils. This is a new one. I'm using different materials this time. I guess my main oh my goodness, I smoked a lot. My main planting mix, I guess, or it's this is going to be the main ingredient, right? It's just chock full of everything cannabis needs, just as it is. But I'm gonna enhance it a little bit. It's good as it is. But I'm gonna put some more beneficial microbes in there, and some bacteria and some fungus. Yes, it's gonna be a living ecosystem down there, or in the plant roots. And this isn't basically, it's going to allow the plants to communicate with the soil. And doing this, it creates like a symbiotic relationship where it's like, the plants will signal, let's say they're deficient in, let's say, some nitrogen and, maybe a little bit of phosphorus, right? So they'll excrete these exudates, which is basically sugars and a little bit of protein, and basically, and carbohydrates is basically what it is, these exudates, but it's in different combinations that attract, or actually not attract, it signals the fungus in the soil to go out and find these specific types of microorganisms that are going to break down nitrogen and let's say phosphorus, or maybe I said potassium, but whatever. It communicates with the soil is basically what I'm trying to say here, because it's a living system. With chemical nutrients or salt-based nutrients, you don't get that communication. It's just basically force-fed. With this here, it's all natural, and there's a lot of people who claim, what's better, what's not. I just like to do it this way because it's more natural, and I like to keep it as natural as I can with no chemicals, and that's my mission. I've grown with the salt base. Don't get me wrong, it works, but this is just the way I prefer it because I'm eating my cannabis mostly. It's fantastic. I'm on the eating kick right now. Edibles. And wow, whew, I'll tell you, it's awesome, and that's the way to go. Eating it is definitely kick-ass. So, at this stage, what I did, I basically just opened up 5 bags of Dr.Earth, homegrown, organic, natural, handcrafted premium vegetable planting mix. And this is new to me, but there is, blended with pure love. There you go. So it's manure free, odor free, so you can use it inside, people and pet safe. It's non-GMO, 100%. Love this stuff, right? It's OMRI listed. It's certified for organic use. It has myco-apply certified, so that just guarantees that there's mycorrhizal fungi in there, or fungus. So that, a lot of people say this is that, but with potting mixes, there's a lot of mixed labels and a lot of deception, and it is what it is. It's a market. So I'm trying this. This looks phenomenal. And on the back, let's just go and check out why I picked this and why I believe it's going to be the best mix I've made yet. So, along with this here, it's people and pet safe, true biotic for soil. So, it has a broad spectrum of biological soil inoculants. So, basically what that means, the soil inoculants are going to be bacteria, right? It's going to be bacteria and fungus. And cannabis actually prefers a higher bacterial colony than, well, I think it's a little bit more, but not very much. But basically, cannabis is, you can say it's 1-to-1, right? It's 1-to-1. So for every bacteria, there would be one fungal bacteria kind of thing, right? It's a balance, and it works well like that. So on with this, there's yeah, it tells us, the colony forming units, the CFUs per gram. So there's 50,000 colony forming units per gram of soil, and we're working with, like, I don't know, it's like 20 kilograms. But we don't know dry weight soil either, right? This is probably mixed dry weight. So, this completely dry is probably about 5-8 pounds, maybe something like that. So, but still, there's a lot of bacteria in there, right? 50,000 for every gram. That's wow. That's billions, trillions. That's up there. Hundreds of billions, which is good. And the beneficial soil microbes and mycorrhizae. So basically the ones we're looking for, or the one I was looking for, is glomus. And that's basically the one for the mycorrhizae that communicates with the cannabis plant. It's the only one, right? It is. It's the only one that communicates, that sends the signals through the fungus and goes out and gets, these microbes and gets them to work and gets the plant what it wants, because the plant knows what it wants. So let it be in control is basically what this whole living soil is about. Because the plant naturally will say, hey, I'm deficient in this, and it's going to, do what plants do to communicate naturally with their natural environment, and it's going to be the circle of life. I don't want to go into too much about that, but basically, yeah, it's all about diversity. The more microbes and beneficial microbes that are in there, and it's gonna, they eat each other. They do, like, they eat each other, these microbes, and it creates, carbon, and they break the carbon down into, usable forms for the plants. Now also I have here some Clonex. It's mycorrhizae. It's not actually mycorrhizae, it's mycorrhizal fungi, inoculant. The mycorrhizal it's actually the product of what happens when you use mycorrhizal bacteria and it communicates with the roots. That process with the root and the fungus, that's mycorrhizae. That's mycorrhizae. That's right on the root tips. That's communicating. So mycorrhizal is actually the correct term to be using for this, and it's been scientifically proven. And they probably will fix this eventually, because that's just going to be the standard now. So what I was looking for on this here as well, right? Glomus. It's kind of hard to focus on here, but there's different types, right? There's 15 known ones that we can reproduce in the laboratory, and beneficial ones for the plants, right? So there is some in here, some bacteria in here that is not within this colony. So adding different colonies of bacteria is just going to have a more diverse biology. And why do we want a diverse biology? Well, having a diverse biology means that it can protect itself and balance itself better. Because if there's it can balance the bad bacteria, because there is bad bacteria that will come along, and but they will be outnumbered by the good bacteria, and such a diverse population of good bacteria. It's not just one bacteria or two bacteria or three bacteria. It's like a whole colony, a whole army of bacteria that can fight off these bad bacteria, right? So, but then these bad bacteria become food for the microorganisms, for the good ones, and it's just like a cycle, right? It is, and it's about keeping the balance, and it sounds like it's a lot, and it's more it's more labor intensive than anything, making organic soil. And it is, I'm only doing six 10-gallon pots, right? And it's enough work because I had to break all this up and we're going to have to mix it and put it into the pots, and that's, it's a little bit more, but it's going to be super good. And also I got this here, soil activator. This is basically just a pile of humic acid. And it's also got some beneficial bacteria in there as well that are not on either of these products. So we have at least, we're covering the grounds for all the bacteria and fungal necessary or our requirements for cannabis anyway. And also this here, our carbon is basically what's going to be broken down, and they chew on it like these little tiny little fungus or sorry, not fungus, but microorganisms. They chew on like on a molecular level, on a microscopic level. They just chew on these tiny little fragments of the outside, right? They don't break the whole thing down, right? They're just nibbling, on this very outer surface. And it's kind of a weaker surface, and they would never break down a whole chunk of like a carbon mass, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not actually, it's just breaking like little tiny polypeptide or actually amino acid chains. It's very small stuff. So what's important for that is it's carbon based, right? So what we have in here is aged fir, for the ingredients, and bark fur. This is all going to be carbon. Like, it's carbon matter, right? Sawdust compound, but it's different forms. And composted green material or green waste. All right, so like grass clippings, leaves, stuff like that, right? It could be anything. Could be alfalfa, and actually there is alfalfa in here, but peat moss, and redwood sawdust, alfalfa meal, fishbone meal, and these here, like alfalfa meal, it's going to be food for the microbes. And fishbone meal, that's phenomenal stuff. That's basically like our nitrogen and stuff too, right? And our bone meal, feather meal, kelp meal, and kelp, it's kelp flower, ecto and endo mycorrhizae. So it's not mycorrhizae, it's mycorrhizal. But anyways, they will be changing all this stuff, and that's actually just came out a few weeks ago. This scientific breakthrough where they were like, no, it's actually the mycorrhizae is the interaction between the root and the fungus, and mycorrhizal is the fungus itself, right? So something today, beneficial soil microbes. So, and some dolomite lime in there, and that helps with the pH. It buffers the pH. Some gypsum, and that's basically like our calcium wetting agent. And that wetting agent, that's just going to be like yucca, I'm assuming. And it just basically holds the retention of the moisture better, right? And it helps it disperse more evenly through your soil, so you don't get like channels of water, right? Without the wetting agent, it kind of like, it water's like electricity. It wants to find the shortest route to the ground. So basically it could create channels through your pots and stuff, right? So this wetting agent is basically will allow the water to break the surface tension and allow it to spread out instead of like a water droplet drops and it's like a bubble. If it was had the wetting agent in it, it wouldn't bubble or drop. It would kind of just spread out. It breaks the surface tension. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like a soap and it's all natural too. It's from a plant. It's based from a plant. So anyways, all kinds of good stuff, right? This Dr. Earth stuff, I'm thinking like, and here if you want to check it out, we'd love to hear from you. Dr. Earth, Winters, California, product of Canada. So it is made in Canada, and I guess their just head office is in California. So yeah, but this is what I found at Kent, and wow. I'm actually super stoked to use this stuff. And now, also, definitely without a doubt, this here, we need worm castings. For living soil, worm castings, this is going to build our bacteria as well. This is basically worm poop, and it's going to build bacteria. It's going to, like, yeah, it's a circle. And these here will also help in our diversity. And it's phenomenal stuff. This is new, apparently. Well, it's new to me. And it's called Growing Green Earthworm Castings. And it's for, make sure, indoor and outdoor use, right? So indoor as well, because you can get worm castings that's made and they have like animal byproducts in it and stuff like that. And it's just not good. And made in Canada, Growing Green Earthworm Castings, Inc., Wedgebird, Nova Scotia. That's Atlantic Canada right there, boys and girls. So, also, we're going to throw in some perlite for some aeration, and you know, the soil likes that. Or the plants like that, a little bit of aeration. There's no perlite in this at all. And you might not have to mix perlite into it, but I'm just gonna, right? A little bit of breathing room, gets some oxygen, helps it get into the roots, right? Because your roots really do take up oxygen, while your leaves take in CO2 and release oxygen as well. Your roots pull up oxygen. You don't take in oxygen through the leaves with with your plants. They give out oxygen through the stomata, through the leaf pores. And anyways, so we're going to get mixing on this. I'm going to pause this video for a minute. And I did buy this. It's organic fertilizer, and I could 100% put that in there and, probably get good results. But instead of doing that, I kind of impulse buyer. I kind of bought that and not really thought about it, but I'm just going to use a mixture of my line of nutrients, or my choice of line of nutrients is BioBiz for living soils, and I'll tell you exactly what I put in my mixture. It's not this one. Put that back in the box and store this stuff. I left it out a little bit, but in a dark place, it really is important, because the light will deteriorate this stuff faster. It has a longer shelf life if you store it in a dark, cool environment. So, any organic ingredients, right? Stuff like that. So, cool, dark place. Anyway, so now, my concoction in here of 1 liter. Now, this is heavy stuff. This is pretty concentrated. I wouldn't just use this to feed. But since I'm doing 60 gallons, 6 10-gallon pots, I jumped this up a little bit, right? So I'm covering a 60-gallon surface area. So for Algamic, I used 30 mils. For Bioheaven, I used 50 mils. For Fish Mix, I used 30 mils. For Root Juice, I used 30 mils. And for Mammoth Pea, I used 10 mils. And a little rundown on each one. BioBiz is a phenomenal lineup. Algamic is basically liquefied seaweed. This is going to give us our gibberellic acid and our cytokinins. It's going to enhance cell division. It's going to promote health of the plant. Bioheaven is basically food for the microbes. It's just going to be supercharging them. Is all it is going to be. Bioheaven is it's an enhancer. It's not necessary for this lineup, but it is an enhancer, and I highly recommend it. Fish Mix, it's also going to build our bacteria colonies, because Fish Mix, it's fish, right? It's protein. This is actually like a fish protein. It's a fish. It's a fish slurry, basically, but it's still super stinky stuff, and it works amazing, and it builds beneficial bacteria because it's a protein. The proteins break down, protein turns into bacteria in the soil, and they eat other bacteria, and it's all give and take with the soil biology, and it's about a balance. Also root juice, this stuff here, and it's basically a root enhancer, and it's also basically a seaweed derived product, and it has humic acid in there as well. And mammoth microbes, well, this stuff here is just another set of microbes to put in there, but this is a specific set of microbes that are used to actively unlock phosphorus, which is, it's a hard thing to get up into your plant, but these little microorganisms, they break down the phosphorus in the soil, which is, a phenomenal. Phosphorus is our energy. It's basically, you can think of it as the batteries for the plant. Without phosphorus, it's not gonna. The batteries aren't there. So you need it. There's 17 essential nutrients that are required for plant development, healthy plant development without deficiencies. But then there also is beneficial ones, right? And beneficial, also another one, Activera, right? It's another beneficial one. But this one here is used as a foliar spray through veg and flower. So it's phenomenal stuff. It's all natural, and it's aloe vera based. Activera. It's aloe vera based product, and it's supposed to be really good. It's my first time trying it, but I've used all these other products before with great success, and the foliar spray is just going to enhance everything. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to have a quick smoke, and we're going to get back to mixing the soil. And it's basically, it comes down to finding a good potting mix, quality potting mix. The less you have to put into it, the better it is, right? So, this here has already a lot of amendments in the product, and it's made for vegetables and organic growing. So, it's phenomenal. It's a great starter, in my opinion. And then you need your worm castings, definitely 100% if you're going to go living soil, and your aeration for perlite, and a couple of different microbes. And I'm just using a soil drench just to get things kicking up a little bit. It's gonna basically feed more bacteria, beneficial bacteria, into the soil by doing all these processes that I'm showing you, and by spraying this here product, well, this slurry of mixture, right? And I'm basically just gonna pump this up and spray it through the soil, and it's gonna be really beneficial to get those microbes up and rolling. So with that being said, smoke time. All right, so that was great. Fantastic cigarette. Thanks for asking. So I opened up, all I did, I just dumped in the worm castings in the center here. You can see the stuff, it's beautiful. It really is. It's premium stuff. Beautiful stuff. And with all your products, you want to check the best before dates, especially when you're using living cultures. It's always, you don't want to buy something that's out of date, because you're not going to have as good as results. Like this stuff here, it's good, till 2023. It's only 2020 right now. We're still good. And this stuff here is all brand new. It's all out. It's all this year's stuff, right? And you don't want to be buying something that's been baking in a parking lot on a plat. It's rough. You want to get this stuff early in the spring. If you can, that's the best time to get it, because that's when they send out the new stuff, and it doesn't have time to sit all summer baking in a parking lot, and it loses its overall benefits, right? It really does. So make sure you check your dates and try to get the freshest stuff possible. But if you can't, you do what you do. So now another good thing I should mention here. Now, mixing these, this is a soil activator, and it's dry. It's humic acid and microbes, dehydrated microbes, right? And same with this here, dehydrated microbes. It's got some humic acid in it as well. So different sets of microbes, and that's what we're after, right? Building a diversity. So I'm going to mix these with my driest ingredients. right? So this soil here, it's actually it's phenomenal soil. Oh, like the smell of it is really earthy. It's got a beautiful smell. You can just tell like it's really rich. Phenomenal. I'm just super happy with this stuff. So this is my driest, right? This is my driest. It's my most. We're gonna mix the dry ingredients with the dry ingredients, right? So we get a better overall coverage, and that's kind of why I put that hole in the center, because I'm gonna sprinkle this stuff on here, and I'm just basically gonna sprinkle some in. I'm not gonna overdo it. It calls for 1 teaspoon, 1 teaspoon of this stuff for, and be careful breathing this stuff in because it is live microbes. So you don't want to be breathing it in or sniffing this stuff at all. Some people are allergic to the microbes, but you know, just don't breathe it. And I'm just gonna sprinkle. And this is gonna. They say to put it straight on the roots. Some people like to put it straight on the roots. That's probably pretty good. That's about, I don't know, maybe that's about 5 or 6 teaspoons, something like that. Now I'm going to add these here packages, and basically I'm going to mix this up in the center. Right, I'm going to turn it with a shovel. I'm going to mix it all up so this is kind of as best as even as I can. And then I'm going to mix the soil in all around it, and adding in the perlite as well. So I'm going to get right at that and pause this, and we'll get right back to it. All right, so I gave it a good mix, and now I'm going to add the perlite. And I mean a good mix, like, whew, it's hard work. You got to turn that thing. I was about 10 minutes, you know, turning it over and making sure it's mixed as good as possible. And now I'm going to put the perlite in and mix it all again, you know, just to ensure everything's really in there, and, you know, make sure the perlite's uniform. And once I see the perlite uniform through everything, then I'll know, you know, it's as good as I can get it, or as good as I want to do. So yeah, right at that. I'm going to pop this perlite in there, and again, I put a little hole in the center. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, there's a little hole there. And I'm going to put on a mask for the perlite, because this stuff's super dusty, and I've worked with it before, and I've breathed it in, and it is irritating on your throat and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to put on a mask. It is super dusty, especially if you're doing it inside. Outside's not so bad, but you know, you just make a slow pour into the soil, and you know, just don't dump it right in, because you will get quite a bit of dust off it. That being said, I'm going to put the perlite in, mix it all up, put it into the pot, and basically that's it. All right, I'm not going to go too much longer with this video. I'm going to clean up. It's late. I got into this and it's like, holy moly. Oh, I guess, you know, I'll show you what I'm going to do with this here. It's quite simple. Oh. And basically, yeah, I'm just going to soak it a little bit, right? Spray it around, you know, mist it around. This is heavy stuff. You know, I wouldn't just water the plants with this here, but since it's being coated over such a large area, you know, it's all right to be at this strength. So, I probably won't even use all of it. But it's good stuff. Everything that I showed you in the past segment there. Taking a piss. All right. So that's it. That's basically my soil mixture, right? You know, and I got some of the hydroculture at the bottom, and there's some soil in here from my last grow. So this is 2nd generation soil. It's organic soil, and it's basically mostly the lava rock, right? There is soil in there, but it's mostly this here is going to act as an aeration bed, or you know, for from the bottom, so there's no stagnant water sitting there. And if you get stagnant water at the bottom of your pot, it can create anaerobic conditions, right? And that will create bad bacteria, and we don't want that stuff. Especially the bad bacteria can get out of control pretty quick if certain conditions are not met. So basically, you want to have your aeration at the bottom. Some stones. You can even put rocks. You can put some rocks down there, like some sandstone rocks, whatever you want to put. Actually, sandstone would probably be phenomenal because it's packed with minerals. And now that I just said that, I think I want to go to the beach and get some sandstones some way. But yeah, no, it's just a little bed or a little barrier so water can drain through a little bit. And you don't want runoff with living soil. We're not trying to get runoff, so we're just trying to keep the soil moist at a good consistency throughout the grow without overwatering at all. But the perlite is going to help with the aeration and get the water to get down through there. And yeah, I guess that's basically it. I'm just rhyming off stuff now, and the girls are sound asleep. They're in there, sound asleep, waiting. And I hope you guys follow along. I hope you've got something out of that. You can use synthetic nutrients. I've used it. Salt base. I've used Psycho. It works well. I've used raw nutrients. It works well. I still use raw amino acid. I still use that stuff. I still use kelp. Alfalfa sprouts. Alfalfa sprouts are like a cover crop. If you want to do a cover crop, and they're also a nitrogen fixator, which they will take nitrogen from the atmosphere, from the air, and put it into the soil, deposit it into the soil, which plants eat nitrogen, so or use nitrogen. So it's good, and it also gives you like a topsoil or a top layer, so you don't have to water as much. You don't lose as much water evaporating it through the top with a cover crop. But I've done the cover crop thing, and it just kind of gets hairy and out of control, and I don't know. It just it works for some applications. Some people like it. I tried it, and it could work. But I'm using some pretty kick-ass nutrients with BioBiz. It's an empty bottle, but BioBiz is all that. It really is. And selecting good nutrients and good soil is actually second to good genetics. So you also want to have really good genetics in your plants, because that's where you're going to see your true colors with some solid genetics, stable genetics, and tried and tested. So that being said, got some Cinderella 99 coming. It's a phenomenal strain. I've never grown it, but it's coming from Quebec Cannabis Seeds. I've never ordered from them before, but it's my first time, and they're on the way, so we'll see what happens. And I also have Bruce Banner coming as well. All right, it's all clean. And I guess one thing I should mention as well, if you're doing your soil mixtures and mixing your own soil, a shop vac goes a long way, especially anything in your grow room. Of course, it will suck up water as well as dry, and it's a necessity in your grow room because you could have water spillage sometimes or anything minor like that. It's always good to have a shop vac, suck it right up. It's a pretty vital piece of equipment. That being said, yes, they're under a blanket. Am I being weird? A little bit, but it's actually serving a perfectly valid purpose. It's going to keep the moisture in, for one. It's going to help, and this is just a heavy old blanket. It's we don't use it anymore, but it's going to hold the moisture in the soil, and it's going to keep it dark. It's going to keep the light off it, and it's going to allow them to be beautiful. We're going to let that cook for a little bit. They're not going to be ready right away. We're going to take time. The colony is going to form. The different bacteria. There is a colony bacteria in the bags itself as well. But it needs to have a nice diverse ecosystem in there, it needs time to develop, right? It's just the way it is. They have to have sex, and they have to reproduce, and they have to eat each other. It's just a phenomenal rock and roll party in there. So that being said, that is all. I hope you guys stick around, and it's all about this organic, or actually I shouldn't say organic. Organic's just a term. There's nothing that's truly organic. So again, I'm nitpicking at stuff, but we got to have our stuff straight a little bit anyway. Yeah, and my medical license. So I just got that. I got my address and stuff like that bleeped out of there. And of course, everything, we're going right by the book. It's always, this is an information bulletin. Safety and security considerations when producing cannabis for your own medical purposes. So it goes into like a whole bunch of stuff. But basically, it's just safety, right? It's, and storage, and proper common sense, but not so common for some. But you know what I mean. It is a beautiful thing to grow this plant, and I'm so blessed, really, to have found a little niche, and I really truly enjoy this art. It's phenomenal. So I'm gonna leave you with that, and it's late as balls. It really is, and I hope you guys got a little bit of information. There was my first light, the HLG 550 V2. Well, actually, it was my first light. It was my first real light panel, but I have a new panel coming, new quantum board, and it's going to blow the doors off the cannabis. And that's why I'm so particular about my soil, because having more light is going to require more nutrients, right? Because more light's going to drive the whole process. Light drives everything else: your water uptake, your respiration, your photosynthesis, obviously. So it's all driven by light. So the more light, the more everything else. And also the more CO2 we're going to need. I'm not going to be supplementing CO2, but I am going to have direct fresh air directly. It's a system. It has fresh air coming in, old air going out, and it's very vital to have that, because if you don't have the carbon dioxide for your plants to pull up, they can't do photosynthesis, right? It just doesn't happen. So all these things got to be in place, and it sounds like a lot for a couple of you people that might be just tuning in or trying to figure this out and growing your first time. Plants, it's a weed. It is literally a weed. You just put it in soil, it will grow eventually, most of the time. But you can tweak it. I'm at a higher level right now, but it's a simple level as well, right? It's simple. It's not a whole lot of it's not a whole lot of complicated stuff. It's good to know things, but you can just mix it all together and water it, and it's gonna work out just as well for you, as long as you know how to grow the cannabis itself with proper training and high stress techniques, stuff like that. Blah blah blah. All right, I'm rambling. I appreciate all your follows and whew. That's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of labor to mix your soil, and I only did fucking 60 gallons. Like, I couldn't imagine doing like a big warehouse, but then you'd have a tractor, or not a tractor, but yeah, you would have a tractor. You'd be mixing your soil with a tractor instead of a little shovel. But anyway, peace in the east and everywhere else. Take care.